touch the leg. Welcome to Dharma sharing. I hope you are doing well. And before we start, we shall recite the refuge prayers and followed by the generations of bodhicitta. Okay, so please join your hands together and we do the refuge prayers. Sangye jodan soge jonam la jangjo bardo dane gyab sonche dage jinso gebe sonam ge rola benjer sangye do barasho Sangye jodan soge jonam la jangjo bardo dane gyab sonche dage jinso gebe sonam ge rola benjer sangye do barasho Sangye jodan soge jonam la jangjo bardo dane gyab sonche Dagi jinso gebe sonam ge dola benje sangye do barai sho semjen tamje dewa dan dewen gyu dan den barai gyurje donga dan donga ge gyu dan da wa gyurje donga mebe dewa dan ba dan men da wa gyurje Niren jada nge dan da dan yon chenpo la ne barai gyurje semjen tamje dewa dan dewen gyu dan den barai gyurje donga dan donga ge gyu dan da wa gyurje donga mebe dewa dan ba dan men da wa gyurje Niren jada nge dan da dan yon chenpo la ne barai gyurje semjen tamje dewa dan dewen gyu dan den barai gyurje donga dan donga ge gyu dan da wa gyurje donga mebe dewa dan ba dan men da wa gyurje Niren jada nge dan da dan yon chenpo la ne barai gyurje Bolden zawe lama rinpoche dage jewre beme den shola gadin chebe gone je sonde Kuson toge ngodo zando so Okay, so we'll be continuing starting from Jewel Ornament of Liberation about bodhicitta at this moment. This is the chapter of bodhicitta, and we should always remember the importance of bodhicitta, why we need to cultivate bodhicitta, and also at the same time every now and then we need to refresh our bodhicitta, and this is how we can progress further for the benefit of oneself and others. So as we know, the genuine bodhicitta, that is the genuine wish to attain perfect enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So here there's two objectives. First objective is to attain perfect and complete Buddhahood, the final or perfect enlightenment. And then the second objective is to benefit sentient beings. So your very purpose is to benefit sentient beings, and in order to benefit sentient beings you need to attain some level, and the best level of ability that you can benefit so many beings is the enlightenment state of mind, the complete and full enlightenment. Under the state of delusion or confusion state of mind, we cannot, we are not in the position yet to be able to benefit sentient beings. So then next question, why we need to benefit sentient beings? So that is another reason we need to remind or recall ourselves. Obviously we have studied the importance of bodhicitta, why we need to give rise to bodhicitta, but now sometimes it is always advisable to remind ourselves, to review it, so that we will be always interested in our practice of the Dharma, that we are always refreshed with genuine aspirations or genuine motivation of benefiting sentient beings. And the reason why we need to benefit sentient beings is because we can see that many of sentient beings are in the state of suffering. They are experiencing the truth of suffering, and they do not know how to get rid of this from this suffering, because even though they would like to free themselves from the suffering of samsara, but yet they do not know how to. So because of that reason, you generate kind of loving kindness and compassion towards them. And GAMPOPA did mention the very importance of cultivating bodhicitta by seeing all sentient beings as your own mother. And in our beginningless lifetime up to until now, we have come to in this samsara for so many times, unlimited times maybe, and with all these times, whenever we are in this samsara, in order to take birth in this samsara, we need to have parents, especially the care of our mother. So because of that reason, we can imagine that how many times we came into this samsara, and every time we had one parent. So every time we had a mother. So therefore, with that calculation, every sentient being has been our own mothers. And well, they have been your mother, obviously, just like your own present mother, who really takes care of her children without condition. So likewise, every sentient being has given the same kind of concern, care, love, and compassion towards us. So therefore, when you see all sentient beings, you see them as your mother, and when you see them as your mother, you feel kind of deeply rejoice in their kindness by raising you, giving you birth, raising you, educating you, showing you this life, and so on and so forth. So we should always remember these kindnesses, and this is one of the reasons why we need to benefit all sentient beings from free them from the suffering of samsara and bring them into the perfect enlightenment. And how can we do this? Is through practice of bodhicitta, especially the trainings of bodhicitta or trainings in bodhicitta. And when we attain the result of this, then we'll be more powerful, we'll be more stronger, we'll have more ability to benefit all sentient beings. Because when we attain perfect enlightenment, there are many different abilities that we have, kind of clairvoyance and spiritual power to benefit them from temporary unhappiness, temporary suffering and all. And most importantly, we'll be able to benefit, we'll be able to bring them in the mature them, and we'll be able to teach them the Dharma. That's the most important part. And while we teach the Dharma, for now, as an ordinary being, as ordinary teacher, we'll be only repeating the words of the Buddha, since we do not have our own experiences. But when you attain the perfect enlightenment, that will be a different story. At that time, you have the capacity, you have more ability, and you'll be able to see what is the need of sentient beings, and you will be able to preach according to their level of understanding, their level of desire and wish. So this is why it makes more important that we need to attain Buddhahood first before we benefit all sentient beings. So therefore, these two objectives you should always remember: benefiting sentient beings and obtaining the perfect enlightenment. Okay, so having said that, so you should remember that there are two types of bodhicitta. Relatively, there are two types of bodhicitta: aspiration bodhicitta and action or engaged bodhicitta. So aspiration bodhicitta, we understood what is aspirations bodhicitta and the trainings of aspirations bodhicitta. And the second one that we are now discussing is the trainings in action bodhicitta, which is more important, which is the truth of path actually. That the path that leads us to the perfect enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So in order to attain that perfect result or ultimate attainment, that is Buddhahood, we need to apply the trainings of action bodhicitta. And here GAMPOPA is talking about the 6 different types of trainings in action bodhicitta, which are known as 6 paramitas. or six perfections. So these 6 paramitas are the main practice of bodhisattvas in order to attain perfect enlightenment. So therefore we should understand this theoretically first. We should understand this. Then second, we should examine or investigate these meanings or contemplate the meanings of these teachings and trainings. And finally, we need to apply these teachings into our day-to-day life. This is how we can progress further. Remember, when we are given teacher trainings in secular education, they do talk about how we should teach children. There are different ways of teaching children, and I do remember that they're saying, when I hear, I forget. When I see, I remember. And when I do, I understand. So these 3 slogans. So I think this is very similar to how we practice the Dharma. In the practice of the Dharma, we do talk about 3 levels or 3 stages: hearing stages, contemplating stage, and application or implementing stage. So when you hear the Dharma, that's the first one. You need to hear Dharma from your teacher. So when you hear the Dharma, that's very good, but then you'll forget it later, after a few months or after a few years. So you'll forget the Dharma. So then that first stage itself is not enough. Then second step, what we need to focus on is whatever we heard from our teachers, we need to contemplate on its meanings. We need to conform ourselves of these instructions. And while we do this, we'll be able to get confirmations of all these instructions. And that's like, when I see, I remember. So that's not seeing by our physical eye, but seeing through our mental eye of understanding the Dharma, contemplating the meaning of the Dharma. So then when I see, I remember. So when you contemplate the Dharma, the teachings that you heard from your gurus or masters, then when you contemplate, when you think about it more and more, when you be more serious about it, the meaning of the instructions, and you try to understand more deeper way, that is how you can remember the Dharma. And then these 2 stages alone is not enough. So we need to go further. And the third stage is we need to really implement all these teachings into our day-to-day life. It is kind of experiencing the Dharma in your life, in your day-to-day life. When you talk with some people, when you hear other people's speech, so you can really experience those things, and that is like, when I do, I understand. So when you really implement those teachings, then you will get realization. You will get all the good qualities, all the good results. You can witness those different types of witness those instructions that you have heard from teacher, and that you have put time to meditate upon them, contemplate upon them, and now you can really feel the difference. You can really feel or experience the result. So this is very much similar, So we need, as I mentioned earlier, we need to remember that we need to follow 3 different stages in order to practice the Dharma. So here we are trying to do the first one. You are hearing the Dharma from me. I'm trying to explain the meanings of this, and then later on, the second and third parts are your own investigations in the meaning of the Dharma. And when you think that these instructions really make sense, they are reliable, and they are relevant in your day-to-day life, then you get kind of confirmation, and you also see the importance of this into your day-to-day life. You can see the changes in your life. Then when you apply this, then it will change your life, then it will bring you the inner happiness, then it will you'll be able to more familiarize in these different types of beneficial effects of the Dharma. You'll be able to tackle the different situations in your life in a better way, rather than conflict, rather than react. You will be able to see the situations more deeperly, more internally, than seeing the situations externally. Well, we usually point out externally whenever things goes wrong, whenever there's things that you do not go according to your wish or plan. We always, our spontaneous response is to blame others. Oh, because of him, because of her, because of that situation, because of those timing and all. So you have hundreds of excuses to blame others, but you never you never really look into deeper reason why it happened at the first place. What is the root cause of this? So Dharma teaches about the root causes rather than the cause of branches and external circumstances. And the Buddha said that the root cause is, your ego clinging, your belief in the true self, and your kind of protection towards the ego or ego clinging, and that is the root cause. Because of that, you see others as fault. Because of your sense of kind of protecting that ego and giving importance to that ego, that I, and whenever you hear slight small actions of others, or see or hear slight small actions of their verbal speech, you are always agitated. You're disturbed by those appearances of form, color, those appearances of sound, smell, taste and texture. So this is why we always see external phenomena as the root cause of our suffering, our uncomfortableness. But in reality checking, if you have done reality checking, then you'll be able to see that all this happened because of your self-centeredness or ego clinging. So we need to try to transform that kind of attitude. We need to transcend from this kind of attitude of self-cherishing and self-centeredness. And when we are free from this ego clinging and self-centeredness, then you become more flexible, then you become more giving, more sharing, more concern for others, since you do not have something to hold upon. Therefore, you will see the other individuals, other sentient beings, equally important, just like you, wanting happiness and to not wanting suffering. So this is why these teachings are really helpful, very beneficial. Tackling with your day-to-day life, tackling with your internal emotions, tackling with the different situations is really helpful, and it's relevant. It is still relevant in this 21st century. These instructions, which are given by Buddha himself and the followers 2,500 plus years ago, but these teachings are still very relevant, very beneficial, very effective in this century, in our age, especially in this pandemic era of pandemic. It's very helpful to tackle our mind, emotion. How can we see the things in from different angle, from the angle of Dharma? Isn't it? So it is very important, and we are doing the right thing. Try to understand, hear the Dharma, and later on you contemplate the meaning of the Dharma, and finally, if this makes sense to you, please apply them, implement them. Try to progress yourself. Don't always, remain in the first stage, whenever you go, oh, there's another teacher teaching, you go there and listen to Dharma, and then you see another teacher teaching, you go there and listen to Dharma, which is very good thing to do. But then only hearing of the Dharma is not enough. We need to concentrate. We need to contemplate the meanings of the Dharma, and you have to be conformed yourself. Otherwise, if you find another teacher who speaks against the Dharma, then you are redirected. You are not stable. You don't have confirmations of Dharma. Then this is how you change your belief easily, very easily, because you don't have the deep understanding, deep confirmations of the Dharma. People do change their belief every now and then, and that is wasting of time, obviously. So then always remember the second stage, you need to contemplate the meaning of the Dharma. You need to see whether these teachings that you heard from the teachers do make sense to you or not. You need to also do reality checking of these teachings into day-to-day life. You go out in the world and see, is there people suffering? Is there dukkha, truth of suffering? You also can examine the origins of suffering, which are mentioned here, which are deeply regarded as things that we need to discard. Desire, aversions, jealousy, anger, hatred, all these things which are labeled as defilement or negative afflictions and emotions. So Dharma, Buddha said in the Dharma that those are the things that we need to dispel or discard. And you can see whether these things, whether these emotional defilements are good to you or are harmful to you. You can examine in your life. Don't believe the teachings blindly. Use your own kind of wisdom. Use your own knowledge. Use your own ideas, reality checking ideas. We use your own investigations process of reality checking of these teachings. Then when it makes sense to you, when you see these are relevant and beneficial, then we should not hesitate or delay ourselves on implementing and applying these teachings. And this is how we can progress, beneficial for you as well as for others. Okay, so today we'll continue from where we stopped. We're now talking about the trainings in action bodhicitta, obviously the 6 paramitas, and GAMPOPA did mention that these 6 paramitas can be categorized into 3 trainings or 3 teachings. Trainings in morality, trainings in thoughts or concentration, and training in wisdom awareness, which is known as ethic, concentration, and wisdom. So these 3 are very necessary. As a practitioner, we need to follow these 3. First, we need to have good moral ethic. We need to refrain from 10 non-virtuous acts, and we need to apply 10 virtuous acts. So these are considered as morality or moral ethic. So this is very important. This is kind of foundation as a practitioner, as a Buddhist practitioner. We call ourselves follower of the Buddha, don't we? But do we really follow the 10 virtues? Do we really follow to refrain from 10 non-virtues? So you need to investigate yourself. This is very important. Otherwise, you call yourself Buddhist, but you don't follow the path. You don't keep moral ethics. You drink, you tell lie, you steal, you give rise to ill will, aversion, you use harmful speeches, idle talk, gossip, then you're just Buddhist as a label, name Buddhist. You're not really practicing Buddhist, isn't it? So we have to again see ourselves whether we're really following the path or not. So ethics is very important here. It's kind of foundation for the progress of to other level. So on the basis of moral ethic, then we need to meditate, concentration. We need to meditate. Then on the basis of good concentration, wisdom awareness will give rise naturally. And with the wisdom awareness, you will be able to free yourself from ignorance. And when you are free from ignorance, you are free from samsara. Because ignorance is the root cause of samsara. Ignorant to the reality, ignorant to the reality of suffering, ignorant to the reality of impermanence, ignorant to the reality of emptiness. So when you are free from this ignorant, you are free from samsara. You are free from all the defilements, disturbing emotions, negative afflictions and emotions. So this is why these 6 paramita are inclusive of all the trainings: moral ethic, concentration, and wisdom awareness. Okay, so GAMPOPA said he will mention this 6 paramitas in 2 ways. One way as the gross way of explaining in them in general, and second is to particularly each of them, or each of the 6 paramita in more detail. So yesterday last Monday we did talk about the definite number, why there are 6 paramitas. So today we are going to talk about definite order, why generosity comes, then morality as a second, patience as third, why in order. So definite order. So I'm trying to read from the text and we'll try to understand its meaning. They are explained in the order they develop in the mind. So they are explained or they taught according to this order, because this is the order of how it generates in our mind, one after another, step by step. So that is why this is in this order. Through the practice of generosity, for example, the first one being generous, cultivating of the generosity, attitude of generosity or giving or concern, care for others. Through the practice of generosity, one will accept the pure ethics, pure morality, without focusing on material concerns. So when you practice generosity, then you are not self-centered. There's less ego-clinging, because you are giving. You're not holding back. You are flexible. You are open. You are, more open towards others, for others. So when you practice generosity, obviously what happens is that you will accept pure morality without focusing on material concern. So you think that, it is important to keep moral ethics. It's important to give with pure motivation, with pure heart, without ill will, without jealousy, giving with pure motivation. And while you give, you will use good speech, polite speech. And then while you give, your physical action will be kind of more gentle, more simple. There's a simplicity in it, because you're giving it. When you give things to others, you're not holding it, and there's no concern for yourself. There's no involvement or pride or jealousy or whatsoever. So this is how, by practicing of generosity, it will bring you closer to the practice of genuine moral ethic. This is why it is in this order. Secondly, moral ethic. Then next one, when one has moral ethics, one will have patience. So remember, patience is not only about physical attentiveness or physical putting more physical effort, not only that, but mentally having a joyfulness in your act. So for example, when you practice generosity with pure motivation, without ill will, without harsh words, without kind of rough appearances through your behavior or body. So when you do this, you have joyfulness in it. You really appreciate kindness of others, so you want to give something back to them. Or you really have compassion towards sentient beings who are suffering, and then you really want to heal their suffering. That is why there's a joyfulness in your act. The act of giving, or the act of giving your moral ethic of body, speech and mind, there's no concern of yourself. There's no self-centeredness involved. When there's no self-centeredness involved, there's no pride, there's no arrogance. It's very pure, very good, very beautiful act. So patience will naturally come. So joyfulness. Not only that, you're able to see the situations, conditions of others. So while you are so humble, while you are so compassionate to others, so what happens is that even though there's a hardship in your body of benefiting others, even though there's a hardship in your body of spending so much time for others, but internally you're very peaceful, you're very happy. So this is what is meant by patience, having patience. Having patience in benefiting act for others. Having patience in the cultivations of merits. And having patience towards those individuals who sometimes react in a very negative way. Even though you are very gentle, you're kind to them, sometimes because of different power of different karma, so sometimes you should not always expect good things. Okay, so when you practice Dharma, obviously there are some or many times that you experience different reaction from individuals. So while this happens, Bodhisattva will look them as their own children who is suffering. Obviously, Bodhisattva consider all sentient beings as their mother or children. But when you see this kind of people who show you attitude, who are not rejoicing your good deeds, good action, then usually what happens is, for ordinary being, we get angry, isn't it? We lose our temper, we lose our patience. But Bodhisattvas will have even more compassion towards them. They will see them as their sick child who need more care and concern and attention. So this is how Bodhisattva training is about. So that's why patience will come. One will have patience. One will have patience in keeping morality of body, speech and mind. So after that, when one has patience, one can make effort with perseverance. So when you have patience, then you are always joyful. Then you can continue. It is that time when you lose your patience, then you stop your journey. When you lose your patience, then you stop practicing. You stop benefiting others. You stop practicing of generosity. You stop practice of moral ethics. But when you have patience with you, then you keep going. And that is known as the diligence. Or as he says here, one can make effort with perseverance. Okay, so next one. When one has made effort with perseverance, then meditative concentration will arise. So when one is not disturbed by people's reaction, when one is not disturbed by different circumstances, and when one is more firm and more diligent in their practice, and obviously he or she is not distracted, isn't it? And that is known as meditative concentration. You walk towards the Dharma, involvement in 10 virtues, with joyfulness, with patience, and that's very simple. That is without distraction. That is the state of peacefulness, smooth progress in the practice of the Dharma, and which is involved of the meditative concentrations. You can see different people, some who have more compassion, who have more patience, who have more joyfulness in their practice. They are more, gentle. They speak more softly. They walk more softly or slowly. They will not yell and jump and or not. And they will not shout. And when they speak, they are more careful. They use polite words. So these are all the indications of having a calm abiding state of mind, which is known as meditative concentration. Okay. So after that, when one is absorbed in meditative concentration, then obviously one will perfectly realize the nature of all phenomena, and that is the wisdom awareness. Wisdom awareness do arise on the basis of good meditation, good concentration. Wisdom awareness will not arise when you are distracted, when you are disturbed, when you are anxiety, when you are agitated. That's not possible. So that is why, remember, we make lots of wrong decisions. We make lots of wrong decisions when we are agitated, when you're angry, when you lose your patience. But when you are a little calm, gentle, then you have ability to think. And when you think, well, you are not distracted. When you think, when you are not distracted, and when you are in a state of calm abiding mind, calmness, coolness, then the thing that comes into your mind are wise. Then you can make better decisions that will solve your problem in longer term. So therefore, the wisdom awareness will to arise in the basis of good meditative concentration. So now remember, we see all this order of presentations of 6 paramita are in this order, and there's a reason behind it. So next, and then this is one way of explaining in these different types of order. And GAMPOPA also says that the order is explained from lower to higher practice. So generosity is little easier than the meditation, isn't it? Likewise, keeping moral ethic is little easier than the patience. So likewise, slowly, one after another. So lower and higher practice. Those which are lower are explained first, and the superior ones are explained later. The wisdom awareness is the most superior one. That is the antidote towards your ignorance. So that is the most superior training. Or another explanations of this order will be, the order is from the gross to subtle level. Gross to subtle level. Gross physical involvement, and then to subtle involvement of mind and slighted minds of meditative concentrations, and then wisdom. That is another way of explaining why these 5 parameters are in order, or 6 parameters are in order. Those which are more gross or easier to follow are explained first, and those which are subtle or more difficult to follow are explained later. Obviously, meditation is not easy. Meditation is more difficult than the practice of generosity. So the ornament of Mahayana Sutra says, second arises in the dependence on the first. So the second morality arises on the dependence of generosity. Likewise, you can say the third one as a second compared to the second as the first. The patience, as a second arises in the dependence of the first, that is the moral ethic. So each one, the second one, each second one is the dependence for the arises from in the dependence of the first one. Because some abide lower and higher, so they are different order. Why are these 6 parameters in order? Different explanations. The first one says second arises depending on first one. That is why they are in this order. And the second explanation is because some abide lower and higher. So lower and higher manner. And the third one is because of being gross and subtle. In this way, the order abide respectively. So this is the explanations why our 6 parameters are in order. The third one is the characteristic of these 6 parameters. The perfections of each of the 6 parameters of the bodhisattvas, generosity and so forth. Generosity, moral ethic, patience, perseverance, meditative concentrations, and wisdom, is categorized into 4 characteristics. Okay, so what are these 4 characteristics? They decrease their opposites. So 6 parameters can decrease their opposites. So what is the opposite of generosity? Stinginess, isn't it? So when you practice generosity, when you become more generous to others, the stinginess will disappear itself. So that is why it says they will decrease their opposites. Likewise, when you keep moral ethics, you will decrease your involvement of non-virtuous act of killing, stealing, drinking, telling lie, holding ill will, so on and so forth. Likewise, when you practice patience, you will decrease your anger, aversion, hatred. When you practice perseverance, you will decrease your laziness. When you practice meditative concentrations or meditation, you will decrease your kind of distracted thoughts. And finally, when you practice wisdom awareness, you will decrease the idea of what you call the ego-clinging or self-centeredness or ignorance. So this is one of the characteristic. And the second one is they produce the primordial wisdoms of non-conceptual thought. Why we practice 6 paramita, or say 5 parameters, 5 of the first parameters? It is because to give rise to wisdom awareness. The very purpose of presenting first 5 paramita is to give rise to the 6th paramita, that is the primordial wisdom or wisdom awareness. What we really need is wisdom. And in order to have this wisdom does not come right away like this, out of the blue moon. No. It needs a stable base, that is more meditative concentration. And meditative concentration comes with your diligence. Otherwise, we have been meditating so many times, but were we diligent enough in the practice of meditation? No, we have not. We have given maybe at least half an hour a day, or maybe even less than that. So how can we expect experiencing wisdom awareness just by spending half an hour a day? Remaining 23 and a half hours, we have spent for the different purpose, especially the importance of this life's achievement, this life's activity. So how can we expect to have wisdom awareness? How can we expect that we truly, directly perceive the emptiness? How can we expect that we see all phenomena as emptiness, direct perceptions of emptiness? How can we expect that we reach the first path, the truth of path, the path of seeing? How can we expect with just having a very, very, very tiny concentrations or meditative concentration? So there's no way at all. So if you really want to, enlighten yourself, if you really want to have the wisdom awareness, we need to spend time on the base, the necessary base for that, and that is the meditative concentration. And we do not have the habit of meditating. Even we do, it's very limited, very, very, very limited. So therefore, you should always encourage yourself to meditate the meaning of the Four Noble Truths. We consider as the Four Noble Truths as the very easy teaching. Actually, it's not. It is the most profound teaching. It is the teaching inclusive of everything there. So we need to concentrate on the meaning of Four Noble Truths. We need to meditate upon Four Noble Truths, and this is how we can progress. So meditation is very, very important. So when meditation comes with your diligence, obviously, and diligence one by another, giving a moral ethic is very important. Without moral ethic, you say I'm meditating, but without having a discipline to yourself, then you will not progress. We need to have a discipline of our attitude, our way of thinking, our way of speaking, our way of appearances. These are very important. We should be inspirations for others. We should help bring many beings into path to the Dharma. So this is sometimes known as mature sentient beings. They are now immature because they do not understand the truth. They are still ignorant to the truth. They still think that they still give importance to this lifetime's achievement, which are very, in fact, are nature of change, nature of impermanence, nature of suffering. But yet, we spend so much time, money, energy to fulfilling those ambitions. So, in the Dharma teaching, it only not talk about the importance of experiencing the external phenomena, but yet more importance of our internal strength, internal happiness. That is why we are trying to concentrate internally. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why these are the characteristic of this, importance of this. Then the third one is they fulfill that is desire, all that is desire. So when you practice 6 paramitas, you'll be able to benefit others by generosity. You'll be able to benefit yourself from falling into the lower realms, because you now keep distance from the cause, the origin of the being born in lower realm. You keep distance from involving in non-virtuous act, and you'll involve in the activity of virtuous act, which are the origin or cause for the higher realm or the better realm of precious human body, and then be able to practice the Dharma and so on and so forth. You kind of promote yourself with this application. So therefore, it is known as they fulfill that all that is desired. So when you have very good meditative concentration, you will fulfill your wish to attain wisdom awareness, and slowly you'll be able to attain to Buddhahood. By practicing these 6 paramitas, you'll be able to fulfill all your wishes. And our wish, our genuine wish is to attain perfect and complete enlightenment for the benefit of sentient beings. Okay, and the last one is they mature all sentient beings in the 3 ways. So when you practice 6 paramitas, then you'll be able to teach these teachings to us, to other beings, and you'll be able to bring other sentient beings into this the path to liberation. And in order to benefit those sentient beings, or in order to mature those sentient beings, you need to act accordingly. You need to have a skill in means. You just can't just teach them anything. You need to see their level of understanding with their, as we know that there are 3 different individuals. Buddhist teaching always talks about 3 different individuals with their different capacities, with their different wish. Some individual, they only wish to liberate themselves from the suffering of samsara, or suffering of the lower realm, and wanting to born as a human or god realm. Some have better than that. Some really want to get rid from this suffering of samsara and enjoy the nirvana. And some even have more greater motivation than that, ambition than that, that is to free themselves from not only from samsara but also the attachment to nirvana. And those beings are known as bodhisattvas, who is free from both samsara and nirvana, and who will act for the benefit of all sentient beings in the entire life. So that's why 3 ways here: Pratika Buddha and Bodhisattvas. The Ornament of Mahayana Sutra says, generosity destroys its opposites, possesses the primordial wisdoms of non-conceptual thought, fulfills all desires, and matures sentient beings in the 3 ways. So these are the 4 different characteristics of the 6 paramitas. Okay. Now the 4th presentation is the definitions of these 6 paramitas. Generosity dispels poverty. Obviously, generosity is the cause for wealth that we have mentioned last Monday. And moral ethics achieves coolness. So here he mentioned coolness. So in Sanskrit term, moral ethic is shila. Shila means cool. So why is it called coolness? It's because up to until now, with our involvement of non-virtuous act, we have been suffering endlessly. And when you suffer, it is not cool. It is like, hot, burning. So, but now, when you are able to refrain from non-virtuous act and apply the virtuous act, then you are free from those burning experiences of suffering. And this is like when you go for trekking in a very hot sunny day, you're burned, you're thirsty, you're sweating, but once you reach there's a kind of pile tree, and when you rest under that tree, you become so fresh, and it cools yourself, isn't it? Likewise here, we have been experiencing the hot suffering of samsara by involving its cause. Those are known as non-virtuous, 10 non-virtuous act. But now, because of the kindness of our teacher, the Buddha, and our root teachers and lineage masters, because of their instructions, we are now able to implement and practice the 10 virtuous act, and this is the cause, root cause for happiness. And now you are already experiencing some coolness here, and that is why it is known as coolness. The definitions of moral ethic is coolness. The definitions of generosity is giving or dispelling poverty. The patience endures hatred. So what happens is, when you practice patience, when someone's patience, forbear, they can forbear different situations. So that is why it endures hatred. Likewise, perseverance or diligence applies to the Supreme One. When you're diligent, when you're effortful, obviously you will reach your destination. You'll never give up, isn't it? So diligence is the kind of energy that will push you and try to reach your goal. Then meditative concentration brings the mind inside. So we are always distracted. Usually we are always distracted. If you do not have experience of meditation or meditative concentration, you are always distracted by these physical appearances, external appearances. You're always distracted towards the beautiful form and color. You're always distracted to the beautiful sound, beautiful smile, beautiful taste, beautiful texture. So we always focus, our mind always go externally towards these 5 different places: form and color, sound, smell, taste, texture. These 5. So our minds are always, focusing externally. We give importance to these 5 different objects. We always run after them tirelessly. Without knowing that they are temporarily, without knowing that they are the nature of impermanence, without knowing that they are the suffering of change, without knowing that they do not really exist as they appear. We have hold that kind of solid mindset that those are important. I have to achieve those things, and while doing so, you do anything. You involve in non-virtuous act. You will tell lie. You will cheat others. And if it gets worse, you will kill. Even you will kill others. So these are all non-virtuous act are involved when you are not in the state of meditative concentration. But when you have the experience of meditative concentration, when you know that the truth of these appearances are not other than the truth of suffering of change, and nature of suffering, and nature of impermanence, and nature of non-existence or emptiness, then you will no longer focus externally, because you do not see the benefits, the lasting benefits of those. Then you focus internally, more inward, and meditate. And that is why it says meditative concentrations brings your mind inside. And then wisdom awareness realizes the ultimate meaning. Then while you are in the deep meditative concentration, the wisdom awareness give rise, and that is the wisdom that will differentiate, that will discriminate which is good and which is bad, that will discriminate the ultimate meaning of phenomena, emptiness. That is why the wisdom awareness realizes the ultimate meaning. They are the cause to cross samsara and achieve nirvana. So these 6 paramita are the cause or the path that lead us to nirvana, and that will cross samsara. That's why it's called paramita. Para means beyond, or that part of that side of nirvana, and you are now in the samsara side, so you need to go to the other side, that is the nirvana. And how can you cross this samsara is through wisdom awareness, the last paramita, the 6th paramita, which is the most important. So when you have this 6 paramita, then you'll be able to cross samsara and attain nirvana. And in order to have that kind of wisdom awareness, you need to have meditative concentration, and now you go back. Then you need to have perseverance in the practice, then you need to have patience in the practice, otherwise you will give up, isn't it? Then you need to have the moral ethics, then you need to have practice of generosity. So these are all, these 6 5 first paramitas are the main kind of practice in order to attain the 6th paramita. The very purpose of presenting the first 5 paramitas is to achieve the 6th paramita, that is the wisdom awareness, and that is the root cause which will help us to cross samsara and attain nirvana, paramita, gone beyond, gone towards nirvana, beyond samsara, that which is rich to the ultimate side. Therefore, they are called paramitas. Thus, the Ornament of Mahayana Sutra says, therefore it is said, dispelling poverty, obtaining coolness and enduring hatred, applying the supreme and holding the mind inside, realizing the ultimate meaning. So these are the definitions of 6 paramitas, true definitions of 6 paramitas. Not the literal definitions, but the true meaning of 6 paramitas. Now the 5th presentation, this is the division. Generosity of generosity, moral ethic of generosity, patience of generosity, perseverance of generosity, meditative concentrations of generosity, and wisdom awareness of generosity, and so forth. Each of the 6 paramita has 6 subdivisions, totaling 6 into 6, 36. Thus, the Ornament of the Clear Realization says, the 6 paramitas, generosity and so forth, grouped individually, are the practice of the Ornament of Enlightenment, which precisely explains multiplying by 6 by 6. So what does this mean? This means that even in each paramita, practice of each paramita, you need to have all the other 6 paramitas involved. So how? So for example, generosity. If you want to practice generosity, if you want to become more generous to others, if you want to practice giving, sharing things, that's the 1st paramita itself. Then while you share, you need to have discipline. You just can't say, I'm giving you and you must listen to me, and using all the force and showing off that you are greater than others, generating pride. So this is not healthy practice of Dharma. So while you practice generosity, while you practice giving, you should give in a very gentle way with keeping moral ethics in your mind. So see, in the 1st practice of paramita, 2nd is involved there. And likewise, 3rd is also involved. So when you practice generosity, like you're offering something to others with moral ethic, with respect, with full respective words and full gesture, then you need to also have patience, because I told you earlier that sometimes you should not always express good things even though you're doing good. There are some different experiences, different reactions from different individuals, because who knows, they may have different problems, different situations. They are also overpowered by negative afflictions and emotions. They are not perfect. So therefore, sometimes they show their attitude towards you. They are angry towards you. They can insult you. But at whatever happens, you are not moved by these different appearances. So you see the quality, the importance of your practice, generosity, and then you conform that. And then even though you hear insulting things, you do not react. You just keep patience, and even if you can do more than that, you consider that particular being as your own suffering children who is suffering from these defilements. Then even more you need to act even more strongly. You need to have more compassion. So this is the involvement of patience is there. And obviously, when you practice generosity, you should practice generosity with joyfulness, without thinking this is pressure for you. You're thinking deep respect to this act, and you're recalling, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the past has also practiced this 1st paramita, and because of this practice, they have gained their wisdom awareness. So I too will follow the path of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the past, and I too apply this application or this process of practicing of generosity, and with your joyfulness you continue to practice generosity. It's not that today you are in good mood and you welcome all your friends or you just give them food, clothing, shelter, and the next day you're angry, you have bad mood, then you close your door for others. So nothing like, not like that. You're always joyful, you're always welcoming, So that's why diligence is involved there. And then obviously while you practice the generosity, you are more calm with your politeness of body, speech and mind. Then when you are more calm and polite, obviously when you are more gentle, your meditative concentrations are involved. You are aware, you have full kind of awareness. So therefore meditative concentration is involved there, and you see who needs the meditation. When you practice this, you'll get kind of wisdom that even though I'm practicing this generosity, I should not have pride in me, or you can also, if you go more deeper than that, you can see that your act of generosity is the nature of impermanence, is the nature of non-existence, is the nature of emptiness. And you can also see that you as a giver also do not exist as it appears. There's no fixation in self. And the receiver, the other side, you also see that individual or them, those sentient beings, as the nature of impermanence, nature of suffering, nature of change. So this is what it meant by wisdom awareness. So when your generosity becomes perfect generosity, that is the time when you can when you are free from these three spheres: I as a giver, them as a receiver, and this act of giving. So when you are free from all these three spheres, your generosity is perfected. You're transcended. This is, you cross the samsara and reach to nirvana by simply acting the first paramita. So likewise, in the second para, you can have all others, 5 parameters are involved, and on the third paramita, you can have all other parameters are involved. So this is what it means by here, multiplying by 6 by 6. So totally, there will be 36 practice of action bodhicitta, or trainings of action bodhicitta. So finally, the sixth presentation is grouping. They are also grouped into 2 accumulations. The 6 paramitas are grouped into 2 accumulations. Remember, we talk about the accumulations of merit and accumulations of wisdom. So this, when you practice Dharma, we need to have these 2, right? So here, generosity and moral ethics are the accumulations of merit. Wisdom awareness is the accumulations of wisdom, perfect wisdom. And remaining patient, perseverance, and meditative concentrations are included in both accumulations. Thus, the Ornament of Mahayana Sutra says, generosity and moral ethic are the accumulations of merit. Wisdom awareness is the accumulations of perfect wisdom. And the other 3 belongs to both. This is another way of grouping them. So you have all these informations now. We have listened to this teaching. And now it falls on your side to contemplate this meaning, and if it makes sense to you, applying it, those teaching is very, very important. Okay, so this is the 11th chapter dealing with the explanations of 6 paramitas from the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, the wish fulfilling gem of noble teachings. So we'll stop here for today, and we shall learn them 6 paramita in individual way, in more particular way. GAMPOPA will be explaining each of those 6 paramita in very detailed form. Okay, so we keep here, and we should dedicate this good merit that we have accumulated by sharing the Dharma and by listening to the Dharma for the benefit of all sentient beings. So please join your hands together with me to this dedication prayer. So nam de tamje zegba nge topne nge be danam pamje ne ge ga na je bala jo bai Siben Solen Dowa Rasho, Jangjo Semcho Rimborche, Mage Banam Gigurji, Gebanyam Ba Me Bayang Gong Ne Gong Do Be Warasho.